Me?
Hello, bud. Yeah, I can.
Hey, you can hear me. Cool. All right. Awesome. Oh, this is going to work.
I can hear you better than ever, actually. You're really
Oh,
loud.
brilliant. Oh,
Good.
gosh. That might be because I am on
No, I
my
mean you're good.
laptop.
You're good loud. You're not bad loud. It's not
Oh,
distorting
good,
anything.
good. Yeah, that's good. It might be because I'm on my laptop. I've only got one screen, which is going to be a little bit disabling, but we'll see how we get on.
Yeah, it happens. How's things, mate? All right.
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, just had a bit of a rest, and I'm feeling a bit tired, but I'll be okay.
Okay. Well, we are just tuning into the YouTube channel.
Yeah, I can see that. Why can't I minimize this? Oh, there we go.
Now I can hear YouTube in my ear, which is extremely disconcerting. How do I stop that?
Oh, all I do is if you go to the YouTube page and then just hit the mute, there's a volume button. Just put that down to 0.
Right. Okay. Done.
There you go.
Awesomeness. Goodness me. Here we are. And Ash is in Singapore, landed and leapt into bed straight away just so he could be fresh for the show. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing okay. Yes, I'm doing okay. Just trying to kind of get up to speed, which won't necessarily be the easiest task today. I was looking just to take a trade in the FTSE 100 as we speak, and I can show you if you
Well,
like.
we
If you
better
want to
go
come,
straight to you then. Absolutely.
yeah. Let me see if I can sort this out. So what do I need to do here? Share. Let's see if this works. The first time I've ever done it on this laptop, so we'll see how we get on. Share. You cannot start the screen share while the other participant is sharing. I know that. Why can't you? Might need to give to me, I think,
I
mate.
need
In
to give
this.
it to you, maybe, do I? Wonder how I do that.
Let's see. Share. You cannot share while the other participant is sharing. Can you stop sharing? Maybe that's the
I can
answer.
pause share.
Okay, try that.
There, I've paused share.
No, that hasn't worked. Okay, there's always something, isn't there?
Yeah, sorry. Oh, hang on. I've got to stop share. Stop share. There we go.
Ah, ha, here we go. This is going to work then. Right, let me make sure I'm on the right screen here. I think it's this one we want. Okay, so should be looking at this this FTSE 100. Can you see this bar falling here? Can you hear me all right? Okay, something's not happened. What's going on? You hear me all right, mate? If you can, I can't hear you anymore. I'm going to presume everybody can hear me. Oh, hold on a minute. It's only me in the room. Okay, that's why. So Jeff's not in anymore. Okay. We'll see what goes on there. Okay, no problem. When everybody sends me a Skype message, it's coming up on this screen. Unfortunately, I've only got one screen. Right, let's deal with the FTSE. So the FTSE's taken off out of this pattern, and I was ready to go long, but then in my ear, I have the fact that we've got Brexit still unresolved. And we have Chinese coming out and saying that they may well retaliate on some of these tariffs. Now, that does not suggest to me a long. And even if this does pop to the upside, I won't be taking part in it. I was quite happy to kind of to trade this, and I would have traded it here. This bar is absolutely fine. Yeah, oh gosh, this is going to be tough. All right, just messaging Jeff. There we go. So we got 10 seconds before the open. Let's see what happens. We might get a pop to the upside, but I'm just not interested. So I'm looking now for downside. Now the downside is going to be pretty extreme, I think, if we cross through this level, and I will show you why. on the FTSE 100, and really, this is what we have. We got this this left shoulder over here. Okay, let's see if Jeff can deal with that. We've got the right shoulder here, and we have got, sorry, with the right shoulder here, and we've got the head here. So this this longer term look is looking pretty pretty ominous. As we speak, the market is looking like it might well just about to just be about to bounce back up again, and I think it probably will. But I just can't. I can't take part in it. There's two reasons I can't take part in it. One, I've just literally landed, and because I am now looking for downside rather than upside, just because of what I've heard, I just can't. I can't promote looking for a trade to the upside. We can all see how positive this is. So if you did want to trade this, then it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It's just not to my taste. I think what I prefer now is for wait for it to go up and then look for the short rather than trading this long, because the short is just looking just a little less attractive to me. Now there is the longer term picture looks to me like there's some confluence in this area, and we'll check that out in a second. So that's about a 15 pip run to the upside. So let's see what that looks like on a chart that we can. If I can move this out of the way. Let's see what we got with pivots. Yeah, the pivots aren't going to give us too much. Let me just close that down. Yeah, the pivots aren't going to give us too much because there's no pivots in the area. There's a monthly pivot way up top, so we can't trade that. We can't trade this this daily pivot because it's not in the way. Anything short, you see, this here is what I would personally describe as a buy zone. And I don't like selling in buy zones unless I'm trying to protect some trades, and I'm not really trying to do that at this particular point. So I think I'm much more comfortable seeing if this will drop and fall, and if it does drop and fall, there may well be opportunities, and the opportunity will come from it breaking down and retesting back to the upside, and then trying to take a trade here, or we just see if the news is bad enough, that or whatever it is, the sentiment is bad enough just to trade the break and see if it keeps going, because there may well be a terrible run to the downside here. You can see that there's a lot of indecision, so the market wants to be going up, and for that reason I would suggest that it probably will. It probably will get to this area, but at that point all the confidence that I would have is going to dissipate pretty quickly, because really, as I say, I think I'm much more keen on the short than I am the long, but I just don't have a short setup. What I have is a long setup. So so with that in mind, I can't really be trading this at this particular stage. I really like things to be lining up. I like to understand why it's going in the direction it's going in, and at this point I don't really get it. If this started to go up higher, it wouldn't make any sense to me. Now that doesn't mean that I am right every single time on which way the market is going and why, but it means that if I ignore the ones that I don't understand, then when it goes against me, I number one don't get into a psychological battle realizing that I shouldn't have taken the trade, and number two, I just have to make sure that I do maybe some research and see if there's some other understanding that I haven't quite put in place, and it helps me learn. So I prefer at this point to say if it goes higher, it's going to be something that I will learn that it's going to cost me no money because I'm not going to trade it. If it does what I expect it to do from the sentiment, then I'm just waiting for a setup to the downside. So that's where we are with the FTSE 100. Let's check out some of the barometers, because let me just tell you something about the FTSE right now. It is probably the hardest index to currently trade. And the reason is it is not binary. Now, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes the FTSE is as binary as the S&P and the Dow and the NASDAQ. And it's really come down to trade balance and trade wars. So if there's a trade war announced and there's a bad tweet from Donald Trump, then the S&P, the Dow, the NASDAQ and the FTSE will all move to the downside while gold has been moving up. But what's been happening with the FTSE is that it's been caged. You know, that this downward movement that we saw with the FTSE yesterday has not been expressed with the S&P. So let me show you the S&P. The S&P has been moving up. And it may well continue to move to the upside. So that, and let's look at gold. So gold would be the other barometer that I would use. Gold has been moving down. So this really tells us that there is enough confidence in the market for there to be risk on. But the FTSE has been very much risk off. And the story here is about the pound. So because the pound has been so strong and it continues to hold in its area up here, then because of the way the FTSE 100's companies gain profits, the pound being strong is not very good for UK international markets. It's very good internally. So if you're trading the FTSE 350, which is the internal UK market, you'll be doing pretty well right now. I'd like to see a chart of that to prove it. Because I haven't seen one, but I would suspect the 250 or the 350 is probably moving to the upside. But the 100 is not moving to the upside, and it's struggling here. So all it's going to take to topple this over and topple it over hard is some downward pressure with that trade war. And I may have got it wrong. I've literally not long ago arrived in Singapore, so my ear is to the ground with news, but it's a little bit sketchy. But from what I just think I heard just in the distance, there was that there is problems with the trade spat. So that is suggesting to me that we should be looking.
Could it?
Oh, hello there, buddy. You're back. How'd you do that? Do you know?
I don't know.
I couldn't really answer you on Skype because the Skype messages start coming up on my main screen. I've only got one screen while I'm here, so
yeah. Well, there was all sorts of ifs and things.
We usually like to broadcast that.
I've had a few little issues with that. Never mind.
So I was just explaining, mate, that the FTSE is not binary. It's very difficult right now.
I've been here. Oh,
you've been there? Oh, man.
I don't know how I'm here. I'm just here.
It's the tricky. Do you know what? I was with Paul earlier on, and I was saying to him, you know, if I wasn't paying swaps on the UK 100 account, I would just walk away from the FTSE for a month and let Brexit sort out. Yeah, because it's just. But unfortunately, with swaps, you end up paying. Everybody understand that if you're playing the UK 100 market, then you'd be paying swaps as you would on a currency pair. So it means it costs you money to stay in. But actually, it's the safest thing to do right now because trying to pick a direction here is nigh on impossible. You know, you can't trade the good news as you would do the S&P and the Dow. And the bad news is just going to get this thing going, you know, and so far we haven't really broken pattern. So what I would suggest to everybody is that if we break pattern here and start moving down, get ready for a ride because this thing could really go. Looking for upside is almost not, it's just not palatable. You know, while Brexit is sorting itself out and it's getting closer, then it's just not palatable. You are literally going to be trading pops. And there was an opportunity actually when I kind of got here a few hours ago, there was one opportunity I had, and that was to go long here. Just for a very short period, and it would have only been a short period. But there's two reasons I don't like this bar. Number one, it is 3 hours before market open, just under 3 hours before market open, and it's a little bit of a rule of mine. It's something that I very, very rarely bend. I don't really have rules per se. In fact, I do have lots of rules. I do have lots of reasons to trade. And rule-based trading is the best way you can trade, but every single rule I have may get trumped by another one. That's the best way to describe it. I don't break them. It's just that another rule might actually take precedent depending on the kind of market that I'm looking at. And that's just knowing the FTSE 100 as well as I do.
A bit like Donald Trump, really.
A bit like what? He breaks rules.
Yeah, no, he'll just make up another one to break the other one.
Well, I hope I'm not that unprofessional, but yeah,
no, yours are already in place, mate. He's just come on when he feels like it.
So, absolutely. Well, to be fair, but a lot of mine came when I felt like it initially, and then I was like, oh, that works. I better introduce that.
But you know,
but the number one rule that I have is if the fundamental reason for me to trade in a direction doesn't exist, then I won't do it. I don't care what the technicals look like. And even though we did have a little bit of a breakout technically here, that was swept aside because I don't care right now. All I care about is the fact that this market has got fundamental reasons to sell. And it's just about, can we find the pattern to safely get in while we've got all this junk going on? And it is a load of junk. You know, this really is price action that is just untidy and not clean. So
it's not unusual, you know, or sorry, it's not out of place at the moment because I've got a lot of mates. There's a lot of currency pairs that are in exactly the same boat. Very, very difficult to pick.
Oh, do you know, that's really good to know, mate, because I don't obviously look at the currency pairs unless they relate to the FTSE. I don't tend to, and it's not because I was going to say I don't waste my time, but it's not that. It's just that I don't waste my focus on looking around in other places. You know, I think one of the biggest dangers that you can make as a trader is being a magpie and flitting here and flitting there and going, okay, that doesn't work, let's move on to something else. It's not worth doing that. It's much more, you'll be much more successful if you correct things or attempt to correct them for as long as you can. And when you recognize that they are something, you know, that something that can't be fixed, then you can move on. But you would have learned a lot while you're trying to correct, you know, any mistake that you are making.
Sounds like my first marriage.
Yeah, this is like a marriage. Maybe being in the market is being like a marriage guidance counselor. We should reframe who we are. I think, Jeff, and maybe offer slightly different coaching. I don't know.
I always said it was a journey of discovery, and it was certainly that. Well, it still is. You know, every single day is a different story.
You know, I said to my girlfriend a couple of days ago that I'm a good trader. You know, I'm good and I make money consistently, but I'm not exceptional. And I wonder whether I ever can be, because you are always learning. You know, the market is forever moving, and you know, I guess I'm an exceptional. I'm exceptionally intrigued. Maybe that's what it is. You know, I like being a detective, but I don't know whether an exceptional trader exists or not. So I'm not sure whether that's a word you should ever use, because if you start putting yourself into those terms and that category, maybe it's all over for you. You know, that's when you do start finding bumps. You know, you're better off respecting the market and understanding the way to tame it is by sticking to what you believe and not wavering. And when you do waver, learn something about your wavering. And if it goes wrong, just learn something about when it goes wrong. But you know, that was just a point about me not looking at other currency pairs. Really, I don't kind of look around like that because it doesn't help me. What helps me is knowing what's going on with the pound, what's going on with gold, what's going on with the S&P, the Dow, and the Nasdaq. To a lesser degree, the dollar yen as well. I mean, I suppose. Maybe it's wrong to say to a lesser degree. At times, the dollar yen takes precedent over gold. It really depends on why gold is rallying. But I sense that the reason and oil as well. You know, oil to a lesser degree it has some importance to me. But right now, look at it, mate. Look, we've had almost 15 minutes, and this bar is telling us at this current time, 14 minutes in, this bar is telling us that you know, traders just do not know which way to bounce. And when it's saying that to me, and there's not a strong signal to go up, all I can do is face it down. You know, I'm literally eyeballing this, waiting for it to fall. Now, if we bring in the longer term timeframes again, then we can see, as I say, that's a left shoulder, that's a head. This is a weekly chart. That's a right shoulder, and we are looking like we may well have hit that turning point back to the upside. The small bounce that we got may well be turning. We bring in the monthly chart on a bigger view. This is a diamond pattern, which you know, I do draw a lot, but I'll draw it again just for everybody. Actually, let me do it with the tools provided with Zoom, because these are actually slightly better. I like this one. There we go. This is our diamond pattern here. Now, this is, if you discover a diamond pattern, things are ominous. You know, this is the most ominous pattern that you are going to come across, because it's rare and it says bears are in charge, and it's, it screams that. And look at this, if this is the case with the diamond pattern, this is how we measure it. No, we don't know when it's going to break out, so we're going to go from wherever it's going to break out. But that could be, let's say it's going to break out around about there because it satisfies a move down. That could lead us right way down here. Now, if it breaks out a little bit later, then maybe we end up just a little bit higher. Somewhere in this area, let's say, would be a sensible target for this diamond pattern. But that particular move would cause a 1,000 pip drop, which is huge. That is a massive break to the downside. So we've got some really ominous signs on the FTSE 100. Now, because this is a monthly chart, we can't get excited about this until it really does start to happen. And when it starts to happen, it may well be quite swift, but it may well really tells you everything about the way you should trade this. You should continue to look for the short to medium term setups until this one proves itself. Let's just quickly pop to the daily, and we can also see this was the weekly head and shoulders. There's the left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder. Look at the daily: left shoulder, head, right shoulder. It's all over the place. So we know that this is heavy. This is a really heavy chart, and I've got some shorts in the market, and I've also got some longs actually. And in some respects, I'm gagging to get out the shorts just so I can close up the longs. But I just can't see at this particular point that would be the wisest thing to do. I would much prefer at this stage to see if I get a significant drop right the way down here again, maybe 200 pips or so, right the way down here. See if we get a significant drop down, and then maybe see if we can get one final pop before we fall. It could just fall straight through, and we will judge it at the time. But I don't think we need a clearer picture to say let's just be on the short side. Let's just keep looking short. If it doesn't shape up, let's try and trade the short from a higher zone. But otherwise, I think trading the long right now will just be way too dangerous, unless Brexit kind of gets announced to be either off or on hold. That would be okay, actually. If Brexit was on hold, that would do for a little bounce in the FTSE.
I hear they're telling us now, even if a deal is made, it's not going to happen until next year.
Yeah, I can't see how it can, mate. I mean, I did always say that if you I remember when we were discussing this back in March, and Paul was saying, is there going to be a Brexit deal? And I remember saying at the time, it really depends on your perspective, because you could say that there's a deal done if they've decided to agree to do it next year. But by the same token, you could say, well, it hasn't been done because it's not done till next year. But I think there was never a chance it could get done by a specific date, because there's still more to do. Even if they get this first phase done, by the 31st, there's still more to do. There's trade deals then to negotiate, which could take another few years. So it won't be done regardless of what we're looking at. It won't be done in the next 5 years. I wouldn't have thought. In whichever form you say, it won't be completely finished.
5 years. Whoa.
Yeah, it will be.
Nearly a decade gone since they decided that they'd leave. Wow.
Yeah, and I suppose, if you sort of like think about it, then putting it into kind of like bamboo terms, if you like, if you were trying to do a deal with some sort of supplier or distributor for you, then it would take you a few months to get a deal, signed off, as you kind of go back and forth with people. And this has got,
no, no, it doesn't.
What?
I just go, is this a deal or is it not? All right, I pissed off. I'm going to the next one.
Well, thanks for supporting my theory. So.
No, I know what you mean. I absolutely take your point.
There's 27 countries involved on their side, and there's in fact it's 28, isn't there? I think or is it 27? There's 27 on their side and one on this side, but there's a lot of work to be done. I mean, when they came out and said it would be the easiest deal in history, just because there are things already in place, then it was just political bravado just to kind of satisfy their argument. But this thing is going to take another 5 years minimum, regardless of where we eventually sit on October the 31st.
Got to feel a bit for Theresa, haven't you? No.
Do you know, mate? I don't really feel for any of them that are trying to. One of the reasons that I don't feel for Theresa May is that I don't trust Boris Johnson, but at least he hung his colours to the mast and stuck to it. He's always been a Brexiteer. Well, so when the referendum started, anyway, he wasn't initially, but when the referendum started, he did hang his colours to the mast and he stuck to it. But Theresa May was a Remainer. And for that reason, I don't think she was true to herself. I think she was trying to be as true as she could be to the country, but I don't think she was true to herself. And for that reason alone, I think that she should have been reaching out to the other side of the house a lot earlier. So I just think that she messed it up. So no, I don't. I think if it was a case that she could have never got it done, no matter what she tried, then I'd have some sympathy. But I just don't think she tried the right thing. I think she got it wrong.
Yep. Fair enough, mate. All right, so where does that leave us? We've got no Theresa May. We've got a Boris Johnson that's in a bit of a battle, and we're probably going to get a Brexit deal by the end of the week or the new week, do you think?
Well, this is the thing. Paul told me this yesterday, and I was a bit like, who knows, man? It's just, I don't know, mate. I honestly don't know. I can't say. I don't believe anything that comes out of Boris Johnson's cabinet. I just don't believe them. He's so good at twisting the truth and allowing it to kind of fall the way it needs to satisfy his own political gain that I can't trust it. And the thing is, a lot of what's going on right now is political posturing for a general election. And for that reason, it makes it very, very difficult to understand what's going on. Again, Brexit isn't binary, and if it was, it'd be a lot easier to figure out. But Boris Johnson and his team, particularly Dominic Cummings, are the king of the mask. They are they're masquerading this whole Brexit thing just to satisfy something else, which is beyond Brexit. So difficult to say. I still think there might be a turn in this one.
Okay, look, I think there might be a turn as well. I don't know if I'm talking through my pocket though, because again I've missed the pound and I've missed the euro pound short again. Not happy, Jan, but that's kind of what I'm waiting for. Something that takes me back to where I should be in, I suppose. Anyway,
well, let's see what you're looking at, mate.
Yeah, we'll do. This sounds like Alison's home.
Or he doesn't understand. He's missed Brexit as well.
Angus is anxious. Right, just hang on 2 seconds and I'll get rid of this little thing off my chart. Okay, I'm going to go with, if I can actually get this up here. This is very difficult because I don't know how I've got no controls, which is a bit scary. Here we go. Share. Yeah, want that. And I want that. Just hang on, close the door.
Okay, mate.
Okay, sorry about that. Starting with the euro, and this is very much what I was talking about when you were saying that picking a direction on the FTSE is difficult. Picking a direction that will stick on the euro is also very, very difficult because we're getting all sorts of price action. We're bouncing, however, in a very controlled manner, and that's what I like to see. Probably the 4-hour chart's best to display it. If I can get there. There we go. So we've gone from a horizontal range to a channel range. But the very cool part about channels is you can actually pick the top, you can pick the bottom, you can pick the top, you can pick the bottom. And when they happen, and they actually coincide with the bottom of a rectangular range, you've got a very, very nice little scenario there and tradable. You've probably got to drop down a few time frames, of course, to actually find an entry. But it's very much the case of we've just bounced off the bottom of a range. Now, don't get me wrong. I call the channel a range, right? So, and I call a channel a range for the same reason I call a range a range. If price is going from one to the other, then guess what? It's trapped inside a range. So that's why I call a channel a range. I call a triangle a
Yeah.
range. You know, anything that bounds price, and
Yeah.
that's very, very. I'll say predictable. I'll use the word predictable, and we get predictable price action when we hit the top and we hit the bottom. That's exactly why I think it's a range. So right now we're heading from the bottom of a range to the top of a range. This will be interesting whether we break through the horizontal and go to the channel, the top of the channel, or otherwise. Now we'll hopefully get a signal that that is or isn't the case. I certainly won't be trading beyond this level for a couple of reasons. It's the top of the range from a horizontal perspective, and it's also above daily resistance too, where I don't like to trade. So for me, I can't trade long the euro at the moment, but I can't trade short until I've hit this top of range and then come back and given myself the opportunity with a lower high. So the euro's off the board at the moment, but you can see what I'm saying with price and the fact that we find it very, very difficult to break out of anywhere. That's very, very confusing from in particular, the last 2 days or now 2.5 days. You know, where are you confident this is going to break out here? At what point are you going to say, okay, we've broken out of this tight little range here, but look what happened. We hit a support level, bang, straight back into it. And I expect the same would happen if we hit a resistance level. And that's exactly what I'll be looking to trade. So nothing really changes for me from a day-to-day point of view. It just depends on where price is in relation to those support and resistance areas as to what my directional bias will be. And at the moment, my directional bias is to take price into this range, or this area rather, and then bounce back into this one. So there's certainly no trade until one of those two things happen. One of those two things being hit the top or hit the bottom, and then I'll continue. Now, pounds, wow, I can't believe I didn't get this on Monday, but I don't even know if we talked about it, Ash. This bar right here, I think we probably did. And I would have said something like, this bar looks very interesting as a continuation of the momentum. And I'll have a listen to the recording, but I would have said something like, but it's very, very difficult to trade into this daily pivot area.
Something's going on, mate. That's I need to find out. Actually, the pound's moving quite swiftly to the downside. The FTSE just tried to break out, and it might be going. So I need to figure out why.
Okay.
Let's see.
Yeah, it's found us another support level. Nothing to do here. I love this trend line. This trend line's really cool. Why do I say that? Because it's got beautiful frequency of test. And when I see that, I know one thing. It's going to continue to come back to that trade line or trend line until it breaks or bounces again. So I'll certainly be looking for, wow, look at that. That was yesterday.
think there is a trade to the upside on the FTSE.
Right, mate. Show me.
Well, we're going to have to wait until this 5-minute bar closes, but I might have to come back to you on it, mate. I've just got.
All right. Well, I'll just continue to.
Yeah, you continue.
Break in when you want.
Okay.
So these are the sort of things that we really do need to take notice of. If you like trend lines and you like what I call trade lines, I call them trade lines because they aren't necessarily depicting trend. So here's a perfect example right here. You wouldn't call that a trend line, but you'd certainly call it a trade line. Why? Because price continues to go back to it. And whenever that's the case, and most of you will be familiar with horizontal levels and the age-old theory that says the more it's tested, the more it's likely to break. I think that's quite valid, but I also think it's equally invalid because to me, the more it's tested, the more it's likely to do what it's done before. And if I look at something like this, what's it keep doing? It keeps bouncing off it. Every time it comes there, it bounces off it. And we're there again. Now, there's no question that.
Sorry, I was going to say that there is a potential trade here, but I personally can't take it. I haven't got enough screen equity to really see what's going on. But let me just say that there is an entry. Let me just see if I can get you guys in. I can't trade it, but I might be able to get you guys in. Okay, if you could stop sharing a minute.
Oh yeah. Oh, last time we did that, I bailed out. You want me to put the FTSE chart up?
Yeah, put the FTSE chart up. Yeah. 5-minute chart.
5. Yep.
Okay, so your entry is going to be above the 5-minute bar on that FTSE. You see that black bar, the last black bar, that one there. Yeah. Take an entry there, a couple of pips above that to that particular bar. And we'll trade it long to the other point. I suspect it's going, and I would take this trade, but I just can't see enough, and I feel a little bit unsettled. It's a bit difficult for me. I'm not used to trading off a laptop, so it's a little bit more difficult. So I'm not going to take it, but I do suspect it's going there. Something has happened, and I don't know what it is as yet. But the fact that the pound has had such a strong move down, it suggests that it's something to do with the pound. Now, one of two things could have happened. One, we might have had some Brexit announcement, or two, this could be to do with the CPI data, which is due out in around about an hour. It's unlikely to do with the CPI with such a strong move down, but we can watch this for a little while. If the pound breaks through the area that you were just showing, then that is going to suggest some FTSE upside. It's going to suggest some pretty extreme FTSE upside as well. So yeah, entry at the top of that bar, a couple of pips above the top of the bar, and we'll take.
Okay, so round about the high of that bar is 72.11.78.
Perfect.
So entry, what, round about 72.13, 15?
Yes, that'd be good. That'd be good.
Stops.
You want this? Probably the stop. I'd put. Let me just check this one. I think the stop under the red bar is fine too. So the lower that bar.
Yep. Okay, the lower that bar is 72, the figure pretty much. So 7200.
Yeah, and I think that's okay because that leaves it under the daily pivot again, and so there's a bit to get through if that happens. And then we will have. Let me just see what we got in the way of. So the low is no, the lower that bar I've got 7200. Yeah, 72 dead. Yep. Not quite yet. 72.1. Yeah, so let's go 7200 for the stop. We're going to go for 72.14 for the entry. Is that cool?
Yep.
And if you then bring up your hourly chart, we are going to find some profit taking when we join the high on the 10th, on the 14th.
Did you say hourly, mate?
Yes.
Yep.
Actually, you can have a look at the hour. So maybe look to take profit around about 72.29. Take a bit off the table there. You don't have to take a lot. I'd take half. Half is fine. Move stops to break even, and let's see if it goes through. I just had a text from Paul. UK government is said to be downbeat on a chance of a Brexit deal. Adds that the DUP is holding up progress, resulting in a chance of deal is low. Okay, so that is going to help this FTSE trade.
He'll be watching it because he's super bearish the pound, isn't he?
So that is going to help us. Okay. Okay, so let me just do this then. Good man. See, this is why we have ears everywhere.
It's a great topic, isn't it? That's somebody's got that topic in Bali, I think.
What's that?
Having ears everywhere, having community.
Oh, it's great, isn't it? It's great. Yeah, we're in good shape here. Okay, so there we go. Because he just gave me that news, I'm happy to take the long here. So I'm happy to go with this one as well, and we'll see what goes on because now we have a fundamental reason to try and take this long on. So it makes the crashing to the downside less. Now people may well have got triggered in already. So let's hope it goes now. And we're looking for, what do we say, around about 20 pips to the upside with around about a 12 pip stop. So near 2-1 before you're taking profit, and then we'll see what happens, because this, with that kind of news, it really could start to explode. We could be in really good shape here.
If it doesn't go quickly,
through, stops at break even is absolutely fine. Just get protection back, and then we should be all right. We should be in pretty good shape.
All right, happy days. Hi, Shandru. Good to have you on board again, mate. Thank you for saying hi. And you're done for now, Ash?
Yes, mate. Yep. I'll just see what happens with this pound. If the pound goes, then we should be in pretty good shape. But yeah, I'm done for right now.
All right, we'll go back there. The market seems to have made a dash at the lower levels, obviously, on the pound, and has found a little bit of support. No surprise there. It'll be interesting to see what happens next. I mean, we're now down to another figure, 127. And this line here, as I said before, it doesn't matter what news or event has just taken place. Everything's still the same. So what we like to do with these trade lines is find a reason to say it's going to break or it's going to bounce. And that reason will generally come with a couple of things. It'll either give me a strong break and close beneath it, well beneath it, so well into the candle, if you like, or it will break through very, very gently and then consolidate underneath. If it does that, then the chances of it returning to this side of the trade or trend line are pretty good. But if it goes very quickly, then we're waiting for a retest, and then we look to trade it short. So that's why we like trade lines. They give us very, very good indicators that the market is going to do something at some stage. Of course, we don't know when or where that is, but we're ever alert when price comes to these areas. So that's what we're looking for right now, a signal from the market to say, okay, yes, this is on, or no, we're back into trend, if you like, or momentum. I won't call it trend because we're on a 15-minute chart, and really that could be anything. So with the pound, myself, from a trading point of view or from a bias point of view today, my bias is most definitely to give me something to enter on. Now, I've had the opportunity on Monday to actually get back into this market with this bar here. I don't know where I was at that time, maybe asleep, I don't know, but it didn't happen for me. And on a 4-hour chart, it was even more obvious. But, that should have been right in the middle of the trading day. So I really should have picked that up. And I do believe we did speak about it on Monday, but failed to take the trade. And of course, we're great traders in retrospect, but that was a miss, in my humble opinion, because so bullish have I been on this cross. Any opportunity should have been taken, and that was one that wasn't. So kicking the ass for me on that one. The other one is probably worse and exactly the same. It happened at exactly the same time, and I should have been ever vigilant on this. I mean, that's just missing that one last week while I was in bed was enough of a kick in the backside. But and I couldn't do anything about that. There's absolutely nothing I could do, but I could have done something about this, and I could have traded this. And again, I guess I just had to throw my golden, well, it wasn't a golden rule because the daily pivot had already been broken, but trading into it is always a dangerous thing. And there would have been a few heart palpitations, I've got to say, if you were trading that short, because as soon as this candle started to come back here and go long, you would have thought, oh, got this wrong. But no, you didn't get it wrong at all, because away she went. How do we trade this now is really the question, and it's going to take a lot of, or a fairly big sized kahuna to do that. And the reason I say that is because this could retrace quite substantially now on the back of that news. And I'm, from a very selfish point of view, I'm really hoping that's the case. And it does give us another opportunity to trade it short, because I think overall, and in a intermediate or longer term perspective, this is going down, not up. So I'm really hoping that this is going to be the case, and maybe we get another opportunity to see one of those, and this time actually trade the bloody thing. So can I trade it long? No, I don't believe so. Not at the moment. But I would be willing to do that if I got the right signals. The right signals for me would be something of a bullish engulfing bar on any time frame on a 30-minute chart here, because here's where I'm going to see the first opportunity. But I don't see the first opportunity right now. Perhaps we've got a case for a base building here, but that's about all I see. I would need to see something of a clear reversal pattern, and that I don't see at this point in time. So maybe we get back down to here and put in I don't know, a clear double bottom or something like that, and then look for a higher low. At the moment, I have no interest in trading it long at all. Now, another sad story, Ash. I'm having a shocker this week, absolute shocker. Not losing anything, but I'm not gaining anything. And I got into this trade. Well, we actually got triggered into this trade yesterday. A few opportunities to do it. My bias was clear and short. And we were dished this up on Monday, where we'd come back underneath the broken trend line, trade line. Again, guys, this is one of those signals that you get, and I was speaking about this earlier. Is it going to break? Is it going to bounce? Or is it actually going to give me a false break? Well, it gave me a false break, because we got the break, we got back underneath it, and then we retested not only the trend line or / trade line, but the monthly pivot as well. That's going to be an automatic entry for me, which it was, but it took 16 years to get me down here to trigger the bloody thing. And I hate that. And then I got this bar next, and I thought, oh, really? I don't need this. This is a headache for me. That means I'm going to stay in this trade for 6 months and go pip by pip until we actually get a result out of it. And that's just not the way I like to trade. I like something to happen very, very quickly. So I decided to close that trade at break even, as we were just hanging around entry here. And then, of course, I don't know how long after, but it must have been very, very soon after that we actually went through and got a first take profit here, had I stayed in the trade, of course. Now I see a break of the support trade line as we head towards the bottom of this range, which is really the ultimate exercise. That's exactly what I was attempting to do in the first place. So second profit here. Well, in fact, I wasn't going to take profit here. I was just going to move my stop to entry and let this run. Now that's a forlorn chance, because, as I said, I'm now out of the trade. But for those of you who are still in it, I hope you are, and haven't done what I said, or haven't do what I do, but do what I say kind of thing, and you are still in this trade, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. For me now, I've got nothing to do except, again, going back to the trade line scenario, wait to see if this is indeed a break, a genuine break, or wait to see if it is a false break. And the false break will be signified by a couple of candles of consolidation, a break back above the trade line, and a retest of it. If that's the case, then all shorts will be off the table. I'm keen the CAD, Ash. I think the CAD's got a little bit over the rest of these major currencies at the moment. Eliminate the pound out of that, take the pound out of that conversation. And I think anything against the CAD from an Aussie, Euro, Kiwi perspective, I won't say yen, because the yen is, to me, a very, very fickle thing. And the instant we go risk off, which may well be triggered by this Brexit thing, then the yen's going to strengthen. So I'm not going to include the yen in that conversation, but I certainly include the Aussie in that conversation. And I'm keen to find a way short into Aussie CAD. That really isn't an option for me at the moment. In fact, I'd probably be waiting for price to get back into this area so I could trade it long back to the trade line and then look to trade it short. So that's probably where I'm at with Aussie CAD at the moment. Eurocad, not so much, because we have had a little bit of a rally, and we're at a great spot to trade this short, in my humble opinion. What I would like to see is this become a high, and if that's the case, we've got a trade line, and if we've got a trade line, we've got an opportunity to trade. So if we come back away here as we have, and then find a way back to this trade line, break it, find the resistance here, get back underneath it, retest it, and the confluence of weekly pivot, then that would be a very, very hard trade not to take for me if that were to be the case. So Eurocad, I'm quite keen on a short here if I can find a way in. I don't know that I've got too much more. I looked at this earlier and I thought, well, I'm going to call this if it actually closes as I think it may. And I was just talking about, breaks and false breaks of trade lines. This is exactly what I'm talking about. And I suppose I'm going to have to take this. Maybe I'll look at it on a 30-minute chart. It might even already be there. No, I don't like the price action.
What's this one?
This is Aussie yen.
Right.
Now, if you consider that we are range bound by these two trade lines, we're also pretty much range bound by a little rectangle in here that I can see. So we'll draw that in. Couple of equal highs, couple of equal lows. That's enough for range for me. So we're looking top to bottom, bottom to top, etc., etc., etc. And this one qualifies straight away. A nice false break scenario, break back above, retest not only the trade line, but the weekly pivot. So this is a trade for me. I hate the noise above us, but, perfect is very rare in currency trading. What I might do is slip something off the table just as we hit the double pivot, the daily pivot, just in case it cops a second test and bounces again short. But this looks like a long to me. Again, we've got the range. We're coming off the trade line. We're looking at a false break of the trade line. I can't see any reason why we wouldn't go back to the top trade line and the top of the range. So what do we got? 13 minutes to go. If this looks exactly like it does now, then there is an entry above that candle. You'd probably want to get your stops below that little swing rather than the bottom of the candle. It may well be the same by the time this candle closes, but you certainly want to take something off at the daily pivot, whether that's a third, whether that's a half, whatever suits your risk profile. I'd be happy with that. I'm going to point something else out to you in a sec on this cross.
Can I ask a quick question, mate? At what point do you readjust your trade line, or do you not?
I give it an opportunity to become a false break.
Yeah.
So I allow one break, right? So a break for me is a close below or a close above.
Yeah.
Not a spike below, but a close below.
Yes. Yes.
So once that happens, that's one strike. When it's rebroken, so a close above in this case, that's the second strike. The trade line, unless it then produces a trade on the very next candle, I get rid of it. So I readjust it down to here.
Right. I see. Okay.
So it's allowed one break and I'll leave it. The second break, as soon as I see that second break, if it doesn't produce a trade on the next candle, it's gone.
Right.
So essentially two breaks, one down, one back, if you like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
So this will be a trade, guys. 10 minutes to go. The candle has to be as it is, pretty much. If it got back above the trade line, I wouldn't really be that interested. If it closed below the weekly pivot, it's even better. Why do I say that? Because if it did that, then if the sellers are around, they're going to jump into it then, and they're going to drive it down to here. And if that's the case, we're not going to get taken in. But if the buyers, these guys, they've shown their intent, if they're actually really around, then they should buy again at that level, because they already have, and take this back into the resistance zone. So that's what I'm looking for. Now, all of that said, I'm a great fan of a pattern I call the Three Little Indians. Well, I don't call it, other people call it Three Little Indians. And it's my interpretation of it rather than an absolute textbook example of the Three Little Indians. But I'm starting to see the formation here. Tiny false break here, another false break here. If this does what I suspect it might, and breaks out here, goes maybe to DR1, it's going to be 1, 2, 3. False break, and then I'd be looking for a false break here. If that were to be the case, then this will break.
Yeah.
This level will break. So the range will break. Now, I won't say it's going to go forever, but it will break, and it'll go to probably a substantial level, that in the first instance, and maybe even right down to here. So if you see that, look for an entry short, but it's got to come back in, right? You don't just, as soon as it gets to there, you don't go, okay, short, because obviously it's also broken a range and could go longer. The clue is, if it comes back inside, then you're looking for a lower high and trade it down to here, take profit, here, take profit, here, get out. That'd be my my counsel on that. So that's a little precursor as to what may happen here. And like I said, I'm willing to trade it up to that level just to find the sell that may occur. That's about me, mate, I think.
I like it. Cool.
Okay.
Some nice, good information there. Just touching on the strategies a little bit. We've got the FTSE, which is just frozen in time right now. Not too concerned about it. I think it still looks fairly solid. Looking to take profit, as I say, in around about 15 pips now. So that's just going to be a half off scenario. And I would take a lot of the time I just say take it all off. But if what is being suggested is accurate, then that is going to be the key to take the shackles off the FTSE and let it go a little bit. So it could actually start to flow and start to get us into a decent trend higher as well. So watch out for that, guys. We haven't mentioned the donate button, have we?
No, we haven't. But before we do that,
yeah,
Chandru's asked me a question here. Sorry, mate, I missed it. The trend line for Aussie yen, if raise level up on left side would be better and strong right, please evaluate. I think I might even have done that whilst I was having a look at it. And I think you probably mean that one, Chandru. And I agree with you 100%. That is a far stronger trade line. But it doesn't erase the fact that I still have this one, because it's still valid given exactly what Ash and I have just spoken about.
And this is the interesting thing, isn't it? Because I have to say, Chandru, I would draw the trend line in exactly the same place you were, that you would. The more you listen into us and the more you hear Jeff, you'll recognise that Jeff has got an eye like nobody else. Actually, you're always drawing lines on your chart. It's like, oh, is that what you're drawing? But it works, you know. So you kind of you have to try and absorb, what Jeff's doing. It is an art. There's no doubt about it. It's an art, and it's a real skill. So yeah, try and copy what Jeff does. It is tricky, but the rule of thumb I follow is draw your own trend line and then think about where Jeff might draw it, and you'll probably come up with somewhere different most of the time. So yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it, mate? The fact that we do always approach things slightly differently, and this is the interesting thing about trend lines. Trend lines are subjective to a degree. It's not a hard and fast rule when it comes down to a trend line, because some people use the close.
When I was taught trend lines, okay, yeah. And I'm going back. Was it the century? I think so. I was taught the irrefutable method of drawing trend lines, and I'll show them to you one day, how that works. there is no subjectivity about it. There is or it isn't, right?
Yeah.
But I found that if that was the case, I would trade at Christmas and I would trade at Easter and a couple of public holidays in between, because price would never go there.
Yeah.
To these trend lines. And that's why I started to think, well, that's all a lot of BS really at the end of the day. Yes, I can see there's a trend there, and I can see that you don't really want to be trading short above that line. I get that. But what I don't get is how the bloody hell is that useful to me? If price is never going there, it's going there once every blue moon, or in the case of a really rapid move, it's going there too quickly. So that's when I started to learn about, well, I didn't learn about it. I just visually saw these areas on the chart where, hello, keeps hitting this area. Why does it keep doing that? There must be a reason. So that's when I sort of started to think, you know, the real way to find trades in a short time frame is to find as many points of contact as I possibly can, be they horizontal, be they vertical, be they inside out, be they whatever they may be. But I found that these slanted or oblique lines that I now call trade lines, I should have trademarked that, you know. Never mind, didn't.
Yeah, you should have. Still time, mate. There's still time.
You think? These are really, they're gold. And you know, Chandru, it's absolutely awesome that you found that, because that is the essence of finding where price is going to do something. It will do something off these levels every single time after it's done it 3 times. You guarantee it. It's going to do something. What? We're not sure until price gives us an indication, but it's really, really cool.
Yeah. Cool. All right, buddy. Well, you know, we should be all covered. Incidentally, Chandru, if you do start drawing trend lines there, that's not wrong either. You know, but it's just not the not the strategy that Jeff is doing. So that's where I would draw it. And if that is the strategy that you're following, then drawing them there is absolutely fine. But if you want to trade the way that Jeff does, then they need to be a little bit more, I don't know what the word is, drunk maybe.
Look, you know, there's another thing about these things. There's no gold hard fast rule, because these didn't exist until I conjured them, if you like.
Yeah.
And just because I conjured them doesn't mean somebody else can't conjure something as good or better.
Absolutely right.
That's the whole challenge of trading, you know.
But that's the thing, isn't it? This is what works for you, and this is what you know. I suppose as a company, we always try and teach is that ultimately you have to be able to eyeball the market from your own perspective. We can teach you what we do, and some of you will just be able to mirror what we do, and it works absolutely fine. But others of you will be confused by it. But it doesn't mean that you should stop there. It just means that you might need a little bit of adjusting until it kind of gets into focus for what your eyes see. So yeah, you're absolutely right on that, mate. Just sometimes it takes a bit of editing. I draw loads of lines on my charts, loads, just to kind of get the right areas. And usually the ones that I find work the best for me are the ones where there's confluence. So if there's a pivot there as well, or a horizontal level, or maybe on the odd occasion a moving average, then that's where I usually will settle my trend line to be. But they can be in, you know, a number of different places, because as I say, some people use just the closes, some people use the wicks, the range, some people use a combination of both, which is what I do. So you know, and some people do what Jeff does, which I can't really describe, but
it's a Jeff thing.
It's a Jeff thing, yeah, you know. And this is the challenge with trading. You've got to find that the key to being successful is finding where you are most comfortable. You know, try and get drawn into where you are comfortable. Allow the market to fit your perspective, and then change and develop it as you find what works and what doesn't.
Okay, I'll place this trade, guys, while we're here. and then we've got to fly. Price is long at. Why can't I see the level? That's a bit scary. There it is. 73.33 will be the entry. 73.33. Your stop loss will be underneath that little squibber there at 73. Whoa. 73, let's say 11. That can't be right. Yes, it can. So 22 pips. That's all cool. Okay. That is an order. It is a buy stop. You can't see the entry, but it's just above that bar. Got to take profit here, guys. Got to take profit at that level. So as soon as that hits the daily pivot, hit your take something off the table bar, whatever that bar may be for you. And then you could take profit. You could get out at the trade line, at the high, or at DR1. Either one depends on how it's traveling at the time. That's what I'll be doing anyway. So there you go. That's me, Ash. You're done.
Awesome. Yeah, all done, mate. All done. Everybody might just you know, but FTSE 100 it hasn't really moved too far, but sit this one out for a bit. You know, so obviously stick with the trade and don't worry too much about it. If watching trades fluctuate around bothers you, then just move away from your laptop or PC for around half an hour, because this is potentially going to be news based now. We've got CPI data out from the UK in around about 30 minutes, and it might just fluctuate the market around a little bit. So don't get too tetchy for the next 30 minutes. Obviously put your take profit in place now, just in case we buy into that number. But if we don't buy into that number, just leave things as they are. You know, if it's going to crash down, you're going to get taken out, and then we can start looking for the shorts if we break pattern. If not, then you're going to get your profit, and when the number's released, then we'll see if we take off or whether we move back to the downside. And as I say, take profit, move stops to break even, and that should be that. But if you don't react very well to fluctuating price, shut it down for half an hour. That would be my suggestion to you.
Guys, move your stop on that order. It's in a crazy place now. It needs to go to 73.04. So the stop on that trade is 73.04, not where it is currently at 73.11. Okay. Right, mate, I'm done. You're done. Have a great rest of hump day, everybody. And Ash, you just be very careful with Mr. Paul Bottrell over there, and we'll catch up with you. We'll do it all again tomorrow, will we?
We certainly will. Yeah, back same trade time, same trade channel tomorrow, and we will be in for the last day of the week, isn't it? Tomorrow. I was going to mention something about that, but I can't remember what it is, so no problem. But yes, back same trade time, same trade channel, and it is at 5 to 8, mate.
5 to 8. That's the date. Don't be late.
That's UK time, by the way, just to destroy our little rhyme. Sorry about that, guys. See you tomorrow.
Hooroo.